My name is Roosevelt Wicks, and I want to thank you for joining me, the Library Foundation, and the Austin Public Library for the Mayor's Book Club Read Local program. Traditionally, we recommend one or two books for Austinite to read as part of the Mayor's Book Club. This year, I'm thrilled to expand the Mayor's Book Club to include over 50 books published by Austin authors in 2020 that represent a wide range of forms and genre and include books for adults, children, and teens. This expansion of the program gives us the opportunity to promote Austin's rich literary history, the scenes, and particularly many Austin authors whose titles might not have gotten published or gotten the attention that they deserve due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I encourage you to visit the Library Foundation's website at austinlibrary.org for the entire list of titles and a complete schedule of virtual programs for the whole family that include author reading, book crush reading workshops, a poetry workshop series, and a picture book palooza. Thank you again. Please enjoy the program and read local. Thank you.
Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the Mayor's Book Club. Thank you so much for that great intro from the Library Foundation and from Roosevelt with the Austin Public Library. We are so glad to have you here today. My name is Hema Mullur. I'm an anchor at CBS Austin here in Austin, Texas. I'm also a huge book lover and a board member for the Library Foundation ATX, and I'm so glad to join you guys today. I'm going to be your host while we talk about these two great books and talk about all things dating. I know I have a lot of stories of my own, so I hope that all of us will have a lot to share. Tonight's reading and roundtable is going to feature two local authors. We're so excited to have them, Sajni Patel and Rebekah Manley. The first half of the program will involve both of the authors reading from their latest books. During the second half of the program, we're all going to come together to discuss the novels, discuss what we heard, and also take some audience questions. So to do that, you can feel free to submit any questions using the Q&A model, Q&A button below on the Zoom panel. You can also post any comments or chime in with your thoughts, also claps and support during the chat feature on the side right there. We're looking forward to a really fun and exciting conversation with our local Austin authors. Thank you again to all of you. So let's get right into it. I'm going to introduce our first author who is joining us this evening. Our first author doing a reading is Sajni Patel. Sajni was born here in vibrant India, but she was raised right here in Central Texas, surrounded by a lot of delicious food, of course, and plenty of diversity. She draws on her personal experiences and cultural expectations, and also some Southern flair to create worlds that center around strong Indian women. Once into MMA, she's now all about puppies and rainbows and tortured love stories. She currently lives here in Austin, where she not so secretly watches Matthew McConaughey during the UT football games. Don't we all? She loves queso. That is her weakness. Again, I'm going to raise my hand on that one. And also, thanks to her family's cooking, Indian Tex-Mex fusion cuisine is now a real thing, and I know I'd like to try some of that. She's a diehard Marvel Comics fan, a lover of chocolates from around the world, and is always wrapped up in a story. Her debut women's fiction, The Trouble with Hating You, was featured in Apple Books' Top 10 Debuts to Read in 2020, Oprah Magazine's Top Romances to Read in 2020, and Cosmo's Top 12 Summer Reads for 2020. I read this book a little bit earlier this year, and I'm so glad to have the chance to talk with Sajni today, and pleased to welcome her to our virtual stage. Virtual claps from everyone. Sajni, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so honored and excited to be here. I'm Sajni Patel. As you know now by Hema, I grew up here in Austin, and I've set my book here actually in Houston. And this is it. It's called The Trouble with Hating You. It's about a woman named Leah Tucker. She is this feisty, independent, go-getter of a woman. She has issues with men. She faced some sexual assault as a teenager, which there is I had a trigger warning in the beginning because I know that is triggering for some people. And she is not at all interested in dating and men and anything like that. But with the Indian community, with the Indian family, she's expected to settle down, marry a man. Enter Jay Shah, lawyer extraordinaire, all around great guy. He has the very opposite experience in life. He has a great connection with the Indian community, whereas Leah doesn't. And the reading that I'm going to do from the Trouble with Hating You to set up the backdrop here. Leah and Jay have surpassed their volatile experiences, in which you'll see it's halfway through the book. So yes, they are arguing a lot. And this is the tail end of a baby shower that Leah is attending. It's actually the baby shower for Jay's brother and sister-in-law. So here we go. My heart pounded out a wicked beats, the haunting whispers and gossip of those vicious aunties. If I could slap the snide looks off their faces, the world would be a better place. Well, I would forget them. This party wasn't for them, but for my new friends, and she was pleased with my gift. I mean, how many diaper cakes did one need anyway? Plus, the aunties were just full of old wives' tales and useless crap. At least I saw Mama. I love that Jay's mother seemed to have a radiant effect on her. I had a good time with Shilpa, touching her belly and giggling over nipple cream. The food was delicious, all sorts of savory and sweet melting on my tongue. Most of the crowd treated me like any other person. Things were fine, I could deal. Until one of the girls muttered something about Jay and Kajal being a good match. Kajal? Mukesh's daughter? I glanced up, nonchalantly scanning the room for her. Finding Jay was easy these days. He was tall and commanding, broad with muscles beneath nice clothes. His deep voice carried, and when he smiled that smile, my insides sank like a roller coaster ride taking its highest drop. The sort of feeling that people loved and desperately craved more of. The fact that he attracted an equally gorgeous woman was not a head scratcher. Gaja was a tall, leggy, delicately curved girl with thick hair, light brown skin, and the features of a goddess. My stomach turned queasy, and I didn't understand why. I had turned Jay down and hoped he would leave me alone. It was only natural that another woman wanted him, that another auntie would try to hook her daughter into him. But did he have to seem so comfortable with her, like a stroll across the park, easy, relaxed? The way he smiled at her and looked down at his feet every once in a while as he intently listened, pressing his lips so that his dimple showed. Yeah, I didn't want this. I didn't want this feeling, attached to someone I didn't want to be with. This feeling was nasty, disgusting, and brought up a vortex of weakness and vulnerability, all the things I refused to harbor. No matter where I looked, my gaze fell on happy couples and joyous families. Why didn't I have any of this? My relationship with my parents left much to be desired. My relationships with most people were superficial at best. My relationship with a man was non-existent. I could strive for anything in the world and get it, except this. My baby shower, although I cringed at the thought of having kids, would never be this amazing. Never this sort of turnout and outpouring of love from family and community. Close friends? Yes, of course. Anyone else? Not a chance. I didn't want this though, did I? I practically hated many of these people, and yet the way they showed their gratitude towards Shilpa and John peeled away all the layers in my soul and laid open the devastating black hole of emptiness, of wanting, of not belonging. Ugh, how utterly annoying. So I said my goodbyes, snuck over to thank Shilpa, and slipped away. The air outside was humid, but the breeze helped. I slowly walked down the driveway to the streets, my hands shaking as I fumbled for my keys and unlocked the car. It beeped twice as a faint sound of running caught my attention. A hand landed on my door and I jumped, swerved around, ready to punch. Whoa, Jay said, craning back to avoid a near swing. He grinned when I blew out a breath. What are you doing scaring me like that? I covered my pounding heart. Where are you going? He asked, seemingly disappointed. Home? Why? I have a headache. It wasn't a lie. I touched my fingertips to my throbbing temple. Are you all right? Yeah, just a headache. All this work, no sleep, too much coffee. No, I mean with them. He cocked his head toward the house, worry cresting over his features. I crossed my arms and leaned against the car, my shoulder against the cold metal frame. You think they faze me? Nothing phases you. Do you have a good time? Did you have a good time otherwise? Yeah, I did. He leaned into his arms, still across the top of the door and into me. Our eyes made contact, and we were both too stubborn to break first. What? I asked, tapping my shoe as impatience reefed through me. Don't you have someone waiting to talk to you in there? His beautiful lips curled up. You sound kind of jealous. I arched a brow. I already turned you down, remember? You make me not even want to ask you. Ask me what? The front door opened and Gajo peered her pretty nosy head out. She looked me up and down, and I expected her to passive-aggressively interrupt us. Hey, Jay muttered, drawing me back to his light brown eyes. What? Can you ignore them? You mean your girlfriends? I bit my cheek, hating that she even bothered me. At this, I expected Jay to step back, give Gajo a reassuring word, and return to the party. But he did none of those things. I don't have a girlfriend, and I'm not interested in Gajo. I casually shrugged, but the words came out bitter when I said, you don't have to explain anything to me. Then why are you suddenly tense? No one is tense. This isn't tense, he asked. Took my wrist, shaking my fist loose and sending an electrifying jolt up my arms. His touch was warm, all-consuming, and suddenly I hungered for those hands all over me. I had to gather myself before I could reply. Are you sure that you want to be seen touching someone so unclean in front of your pious group? He moved in, mere inches from me, so close that his body heat and the slight scent of his mind-numbing cologne wrapped around my entire body, making it hard to breathe. But my lungs didn't mind. They didn't need air when he stood so close. Good Lord, what was stupid Jay Shaw doing to me? You look pretty clean to me. He turned me to the side and leaned back to check me out. Very nice. I hit his chest. I bet there are a dozen people watching us through those curtains. He laughed. Should we give them something to gossip about? Placing a hand against his hard chest, I pushed him. The man barely budged. Get back to your party before the aunties drag you back inside, I teased. Hey, he said, taking my hand before I slipped into the car. Go out with me. I scoffed. Are you sure that there wasn't alcohol in those drinks? Seriously, Leah, one date. Why? You have time for that answer? Because saying that I like you isn't enough. Did the humidity spike? Because sweat beaded on the back of my neck? When was the last time a guy made my stomach tie into knots? My entire body wanted to agree to his terms, but I had to stop myself and remember who we were. We would never work out. So why bother trying when it would lead to failure, to fights and heartbreak? No, Jay, I don't want to date with you, I said finally, swallowing the rancid lie down my throat. Glancing at the cross-armed Gajo now flagrantly waiting on the porch, I replied, she seems like a nice girl, though. I slid inside my car and closed the door. Jay didn't move from the spot when I pulled away. Through the rearview mirror, I eyed him as he stuffed his hands into his pockets and watched me leave. Even when Gajo appeared by his side, he kept his focus on me. When I reached home, frustrated by the state of my neglected apartment, I took off my shoes and slipped out of my clothes on the way to the bedroom, my usual routine. Before I donned those sexy cleaning gloves to get on my knees and scrub the bathroom, I checked my text out of habit. My mouth subsequently dropped. Preeti, Sana, and Rima had group texted me, and scrolling through the messages, a mixture of embarrassment, anger, and flattery pulsated through my veins. The gist of the 20-mile-long text chain was this. Jay had asked them to convince me to go out with him. The audacity. Who did he think he was, getting my friends involved? And to make matters worse, of course, they were on Team freaking Jay.
Oh, I loved it. Since I said I finished the book just earlier a couple of months ago, it's amazing how I'm instantly back in that world of Leah and Jay, and I'm like, Kajal, get out of there. Thank you so much, Sajni. We appreciate that. Can't wait to talk more about that. But before we get to that, we also want to introduce our next author, Rebekah Manley. She is also an Austinite. She holds her Master's of Fine Arts in Children's Literature from Hollins University and feels like she has earned her MFA in dating as well. She lives right here in Austin and is fueled by swimming, queso, and good conversation. I think we all have the queso thing in common, right? Rebekah runs the Texas Center for the Book and works to encourage literacy, reading, and library use in the Lone Star State. Alexandra and the Awful, Awkward, No Fun, Truly Bad Dates, a picture book parody for adults, is her debut book, and we are so glad to get a taste of it and see that and hear from Rebekah as well. Rebekah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Yes, Sajni, one of the things I loved about your book was all of the details about food. And I forgot I had queso in my profile. We love queso. So my name is Rebekah, and this is my first book. I actually have kind of specialized in studying children's literature and the art of a picture book format, and I ended up writing one for adults, so it's a lot of fun. A lot of the dates in here are based on real life, so or just like semblances of them. And I had a lot of fun writing it, and I hope that above all, it is a humorous book. I hope people laugh, but it's really a story of friendship and empowerment. And I'm so glad to be here with y'all today. So I think I'm gonna start reading it. Yay, Alexander and the Awful, Awkward, No Fun, Truly Bad Dates by me and illustrated by Katerina Oliviera. And she is on this. She's watching with us tonight, which is so fun. Single and turning 30, Alex challenged herself to hashtag 30 dates in 30 days. Coffee shops, happy hours, tapas galore, and endless who's getting the check tangos. How bad could it be? And what did she have to lose? Number 1 was clearly a hashtag mistake. Her date insisted she get the prime rib, and that women should just accept the wage gap. Your brains are just different, he mansplained. Alex grabbed her steak to go and let him enjoy the financial success of buying her meal. Date number 2 briefed everyone at the wine and cheese bar on his Ivy League status. Hashtag Harvard Havarti tossed his menu at the server. I can't believe you don't have a proper dessert wine. Alex deserted him. Guess who treated mom to a cruise every year? Number 3. They even lived next door to each other in matching apartments. Before Alex took her first bite, number 3 posted a photo and tagged his mom. Look, mac and cheese with lobster, your favorite. Hashtag mom is your lobster. His mom double tapped. Alex tapped out. She received awful reception from number 4. They met online and that's where he stayed. He had his phone out their entire date. Hashtag phone it in. Hashtag loss of appetite. Numbers 5 through 7 were like cereal without a prize. Perfectly fine, but not worth a round 2. Hashtag checks, please. It felt like work to hear some dates only talk about their jobs. Alex appreciated number 8's preparation until he demanded silence to perfect his copper theory. Hashtag see you never. Hashtag no chemistry. Number 9 spent the whole date teaching his favorite programming languages. He permitted questions, but did not reciprocate. Hashtag does not compute. Alex felt hopeful about number 10 until he lectured her on Russian classics. If you're not reading the best, he told her, why read it all? Too bad he couldn't read her face. Hashtag academy, nah. Numbers 11, 12, and 16 were awkward and so hurt when she didn't trust him enough to go to their place for their first date. Those nights, she treated herself and her gut instinct to a double-decker strawberry cone. Hashtag ice cream for personal safety. Hashtag ready to taste romance. Alex thought she had a coffee date with number 13. Instead, she was served a green tea lecture and a bite-by-bite calorie count of her blueberry yogurt muffin. Hashtag ready for a date diet. Day 15 had 0 aspirations of travel or fun in general. I prefer to stay in my own neighborhood. Everything I need to see is on YouTube. As he talked, Alex imagined a far-off land, one full of exciting possibilities and people with actual personalities. Hashtag dreaming of Australia. Numbers 14, 17, and 19 were no fun and made her grateful for caffeine. Of course, I want to hear about the time you got your wisdom teeth removed. Your closet is made up entirely of plaid shirts and chinos. Fascinating. I never thought much about dirt varieties. Alex went back for extra shots just to stay awake. Hashtag a latte small talk. Alex felt like she was babysitting number 18. He birthed the alphabet and literally skated out on the check. She wanted to send a bill to his parents. Hashtag no more date care. Hashtag drunk dates barely counted. Alex never met number 20. He was too intoxicated to find the restaurant. The next day, Mr. 21 lost track of Long Island's and passed out at the table. It was strange to attend a first date's birthday, but Alex figured it'd be fun to meet number 22's friends. The surprise party was on them, as their truly bad date gifted them the opportunity to invest in a startup. New rule, hashtag no more party favors. Hashtag for the books, or not. 22 and 24 had all the advice. You haven't invested in Bitcoin? You're missing out on the future. I bet you like books. I can't believe you like books. Print is dead. I could fit all the Library of Congress on my phone. Alex decided to leave them both on red. Alex showed up to number 25's favorite spot, and unfortunately, all signs pointed to another awful, awkward, no fun, truly bad date. Numbers 26 through 29, Alex texted her friends, hashtag don't even ask, hashtag not worth it, hashtag moving to Australia. As hashtag 30 dates in 30 days was coming to an end, Alex was at the end of her rope. She was 30, single, and almost 30 days clear on what she did and did not want. With only one day to go, Alex was expecting the worst. But hashtag no show number 30 was her best date yet. I'll take one of everything, she told the server. It was so good, in fact, that she was ready for hashtag 30 dates in 30 days again. Rock climbing, hikes, trips to the winery, dancing, traveling with herself and maybe a few fab friends. There would be no more awful, awkward, no fun, truly bad dates now that Alex learned how to hashtag self-validate. Especially in Australia. Hashtag koala me fabulous.
Oh, that was so awesome, Rebekah. Thank you so much. I seriously love both of these books so much. I think they are both hilarious and interesting, and particularly as an Indian woman who has done all forms of online dating and dating in the 2000s, I really related to both of them. So I'm so excited to be able to open up to everybody for questions and everything. And just a reminder to all of our attendees, you can use that Q&A function there down at the bottom to share any questions that you might have for our authors. But I do want to be able to just kind of open it up and start with a question. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Rebekah. You already mentioned that you might have drawn from some personal experiences for some of those dates. Was there some friends involved in there as well? And why did you think that, you mentioned that you were into children's literature, and why did you think that this was such a good format to talk about this topic in particular?
Thank you so much, Hema. I think that there are a lot of self-help books out there on dating, and I'm sure they're wonderful, and I've looked into some myself. I think that this can be such a tough experience. And so I think it's fun in the picture book format to bring levity and laughter and almost like a page turn, like when we were kids and cozy in our beds and reading books with our flashlights or with our parents, like to make something really comfortable and familiar and put in that format. I really like that. And writing picture books for adults, that's why I like to call them picture books. Some people call them children's books, but that's why I call them picture books, because I think that they are for all ages. And so I'm kind of on a personal mission to bring them back to make them something for all ages. What was the other part of the question?
Just about, your other girlfriends, are they seeing themselves in some of these 30 dates as well?
Yes, yes. And that was something that I really enjoyed about both our books is that friends are dating is not a solitary sport. And, I'm looking forward to all of you out there, reading this book because you'll see in the illustrations that friends are really a part of this. Actually, when I first wrote it, I pictured the hashtags as a sort of a text chain on the side as a recap. And so you can kind of imagine that too as you're reading. And some of these dates are probably reflections of ones I've heard from my friends dating too, for sure. But yes, friendship is very much in the book, and you can see it in the illustrations.
Yeah, as soon as I read this, I decided already that I'm giving my girlfriends a copy for Christmas because we do. I mean, dating is a group sport these days. You have to tell all of your girlfriends all of the details of your dates. And like the hashtags, me and my girlfriends always would come up with nicknames for the guys that we were dating. So it's going to be perfect. So, Rebekah, I loved reading that. I'm going to turn things to Sajni right now. And I really connected with this book as well because as an Indian woman, I know not only what it's like to date while being a working professional woman like Leah is, but also having that, pressure from family and the community to settle down and get married and be the perfect Indian wife and mother. So I was really curious what this isn't a story. I think it does resonate, especially I think with Indian families, but it's not just for Indian women. What has been the response from readers of all backgrounds, and what do they think, and are they able to relate to Leah's story?
I think for the majority, from what I've heard from readers, they seem to all relate to her. In the beginning, she's very harsh and she's a little bit more unrelatable in the beginning, but then you find out why she's that the way that she is. And just to have her experience, because it's not an experience just for Indian American women. It's across a lot of cultures. Your family wants you to get married. Your family wants you to settle down in a lot of cases. And having the trauma that she's had and having to deal with that, and sexual assault just being the issue in a lot of cultures and a lot of communities. A lot of people have it resonated with a lot of people. I've had lots of readers personally message me to tell me how they've seen themselves in Leah and how they feel valued and validated by having their kind of experience out there. And it's mainly about the response to the sexual assault in the storylines. And then just having Jay, you're seeing like two different sides of the community. You're seeing someone who's accepted by the community, and then you see someone who's been ostracized by the community. So I've had a lot of readers across many nationalities and cultures respond to me that they've enjoyed the book. So, and that's always great to hear.
And I'll ask another question about your book, Sajni, is, when I was reading the book, I'm glad that you said that Leah wasn't relatable in the beginning. And that was, I guess, your intent, because in the beginning, I was definitely like, man, why is she being like this? And then, of course, it all comes together. Now, one thing, when I pictured Jay, just his descriptions, I mean, Jay is like the perfect man. He literally is Prince Charming. And I was like, this seems like right out of a Bollywood movie. Was that somewhat the intent, to have this sort of a little bit of a fairy tale sense to it?
I will tell you first with Leah, she was much harsher in the beginning with older drafts. And my editor was like, no, you have to change it. You have to soften her a little bit because no one's going to read past page 20 with her being like this. Okay, fine. So with Jay, so it originally started as a single point of view women's fiction. It was all going to be from Leah's point of view. But then Jay came around and I tried to write his side, and he just evolved that way. It wasn't intentional to make him so perfect. And I've heard that from a lot of people, that he's like this perfect book boyfriend. His looks were based off of Hrithik Roshan. So, there was a little bit of that. Yeah. And so he just evolved in a way that I had to counterbalance the negativity that Leah was experiencing. And so she is this more volatile and very against the world and on her own. And Jay is very family oriented and part of the community. So I wanted to bring a balance to that. And so I guess that just kind of happens with trying to bring a balance.
Okay, it looks like we have a question from one of our virtual attendees here. This is from Rachel. Her question is for both authors, Rebekah and Sajni. Do you have any advice for women who are dating right now in the COVID-19 world? Wow, we could go on, I think, the entire hour on that, but I'll leave it to either one of you to start first there.
I'll take this. I'll take it, and you can fill in the blanks, Sajni. First of all, please type in the chat if you also have advice, because I need it. But I will say I'm kind of leaning in to, I think we could talk over and over about how hard things are with dating, and especially in the pandemic. So I don't think I need to talk about that unless we want to for humor a little bit later in the discussion. I will say two positive things. I think that we can lean into is I think that this era has really brought about an abundance of like communication. Like from the get-go, you have to talk about like, hey, I'm actually not going to restaurants, but I could do a park, or FYI, when I see you, I'm definitely open for a hug with a mask or whatever. I think it's kind of COVID-19 with friends too, and relationships has kind of made it like we have to communicate. And I think that it's taken the awkward out in a good way. It's still awkward, but made it less awkward and more open. And then my second thing that I'm embracing is that, maybe there's time to not rush things as much, and you can talk more on the front end and get to know each other more. And there's more that like, hey, we just need to get to know each other because we're in a pandemic, and it's okay if we don't like meet up right away. And I think that that's kind of helped in a way. It's kind of given a buffer. So I'm choosing to think of those things as positive and leaning into those.
I will say for my side experience, I actually have a YA anthology that released today that's all about meet cutes and during the pandemic. So there are different ways of how teens have met and how they're dealing with each other. So I guess I could kind of roll over to women of older ages. I think just like Rebekah mentioned, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to really get to know someone and really see their character. I guess for myself, I don't know about everyone else. For myself, I'm in a lot of Zoom meetings. I'm in a lot of panels and different events. I'm trying to network via Zoom. And it works out for me because I'm very introverted. So it's hard for me to just go up to someone. I mean, you would have to like drag me to any kind of social function unless there's food or Matthew McConaughey. So one or the other has to be there in order for you to get me to go anywhere. And so I think there's, people can relax. I can relax a little bit better. Being introverted, I can just kind of deflate afterwards. I can just find my energy. And COVID, you also see the character of people. You see how they are responding to COVID and what's going on, if they're taking it seriously, or if they're kind of just dismissing it, if they have the kindness in their heart to consider other people. And a lot of people, at least in my neighborhood, are very active. They walk outdoors, they take walks, they walk their dogs, and that's with their mask on. And that's a great way too, to just kind of meet neighbors. I mean, there might be a great guy, in the cul-de-sac down the street that you never would have known, but now you're all walking around at 8:00 at night with your dogs. So it's an opportunity.
Yeah, from everything I've heard, like I said, dating's a group sport, so I always hear from my girlfriends still. But it's been, I think, a little bit easier for people to weed out the guys who are not there for the right reasons, if you will, to take a Bachelor reference. But I think a lot of them have found that now that you can't just meet up for drinks as easily. So we do have another question right now from Megan, I believe. They are asking about, or I'm sorry, yeah, Megan Daniels. Rebekah, how is your dating application going? Is there something that we need to be on the lookout for?
Yes, maybe we'll drop that link in the chat. I decided a few years ago, I came up with this idea to do a dating application. And then during the pandemic, I decided that I was just going to go for it because it tied in with my book and it was fun. And so I actually have an application to date me. It's online and we're getting some responses.
Rebekah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm thinking like dating app, like a Hinge or Tinder. So this is like apply to date Rebekah.
Yes.
Okay. I love it. Okay, so what are we asking on this application? What would we like to know about a potential date?
Well, first of all, I think that, my motto is I didn't like the game, so I made up my own. And probably the most important part of the whole thing, Hema, is I say really clearly, like, I'm not asking for any qualifications that I'm not willing to fulfill myself. And so basically, it's a list of like kind of non negotiables in a way that's supposed to be really lighthearted and fun. Um, and so far I've met some great people. I will say, with the excitement of the book launch, I haven't had a lot of time to date, and so I've gotten some DMs and I've just redirected them and said, hey, so good to hear from you, this is kind of how I'm dating now. And I've actually had people follow up and fill out applications because it makes it just easier. They read, they know what I'm all about, and then they just kind of share what they're about.
And I don't know if maybe Sajni are getting this as well. It almost sort of reminds me of, people passing around their bio data. That's sort of what traditional Indian, dating in India sometimes is that you kind of have a bio that goes around. Here's everything you need to know about you. If anybody watched Indian Matchmaking on Netflix earlier this year, might have given you a little bit of idea. So maybe that application is an idea that you can share with your readers as well. Because I feel like I know some people who would to take you up on sharing that.
I actually have bio data in my book, and my editor was like, "What's bio data?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So, and that's exactly what I was thinking of when Rebekah was talking about her app. It's exactly that. Let's
Let's
good way to go. It's succinct. Let's get to business.
Exactly. You know exactly what you're getting and what you're looking for. And there's a question from Jennifer for Sajni. Oh, this is a great question. Is there going to perhaps be a second follow-up book about potentially Leah and Jay's lives in Dallas and Houston? Are they doing is he moving? Are they doing the long distance? What happens next?
So there is not a follow-up with Leah and Jay's story. However, there is a book coming out next fall, next September, I believe, for Preeti's story. And Preeti is one of Leah's close friends. And so, yeah, that is coming out.
Okay, I love that, the kind of, side story that we get to hear from Preeti's perspective as well. I won't give away too much of what her little side story is. That's so cool. Let's see. Megan says Rebekah is awesome. So if you have single friends, send them her way. Rebekah, you might as well just link the application in there, and we can feel free to share it with all of our friends. Very cool. So this is another question that I had coming up when I was reading your book, Sajni. It was, do you think that there is still this, like we said, Jade sort of does come off as this perfect guy. Is there still a stigma, you think, about a strong woman and a strong, confident, professional woman finding it hard to date out there? And lots of women in 2020 are exactly that. What do those women do?
I think that's a question. Okay, so I will say, first of all, my sister-in-law is that strong, independent, educated woman who just takes the lead. And my brother is a great Indian guy, and they make a great couple. I will say that a lot of guys have in the past tried to go court her. In the Indian community, at least in our community here, we are a small community. You're not the overall Indian population. When you date publicly, it's known that you have the intention of getting married. So it's a very serious thing when you date someone. And a lot of guys have gone after my sister-in-law before she was married to my brother, but she is very strong-willed and they just couldn't handle it. So I think that's not a question really for women, how to handle that. I think strong women keep being strong. I wish I was stronger. I wish I had grown up with stronger females in my life. I wish I was taught. I grew up as an immigrant here in Texas, and the immigrant life, the traditional Indian life was you teach your daughters to be quiet, you teach them to be good, smile all the time. So I say that guys have to need to learn how to deal with strong women. You want a strong woman. You don't want someone. I hope that you don't want someone that you can just kick around. You want someone who will help you and support you, and hopefully you're with someone who you can support as well. So guys, take a note.
Yes.
Women stay strong. Guys, take a note.
Yes, and I do see that changing as well. And my now husband of 3 days is very much. I told him that from the upfront. I said, listen, I'm not changing. So if you can't deal with it, that's on you. So Rebekah, this was a question I had, and I loved the way that, you know, her 30 date challenge ended, and she's, you know, the self-validate. I loved that little hashtag. I actually sent that to one of my girlfriends. Was there any, you know, maybe a suggestion to you that maybe Alex does find like the right guy in these 30 dates?
Yes. And, you know, I thought about that. I haven't counted, and I know I need to. I have easily 50 different versions, drafts of this. You know, Megan, who's chiming in, she was one of my critique partners, and she probably read at least 6 of them. I really thought about that, Hema, but I didn't want it to be tied up in this like perfect ending, because I don't think that that is necessarily the reality or the audience. I do believe that true love is out there, and you know, I love seeing pictures from your wedding. And Sajni, to go back to the question before, one of the things I loved about your book is how there are characters speaking to that, with the main character saying, "We're so glad that you are who you are, and the right person appreciates that." And I just, you know, I think we have to be who we are and see where the story takes us. And I think it might have felt inauthentic if it was like, date number 30, she got it, she's fine, in the end. And so I think ultimately, I think if there's a to be continued, is she knows, it says that she's 30 days clear on what she does not want. And in the original, one of the illustration notes I had on the date that she got stood up was her writing all the ideas on a napkin of where she wanted to do, and she had these onlookers taking notice of her and her energy behind that. And so I like to think that there are people observing her adventures, people joining her on her adventures, and her adventures will become joint, but she's self-validating. And I wanted to say before I forgot, I wrote a BuzzFeed-esque piece for my publisher, the 20 worst and best things about dating today during COVID. And I'm going to put that in the chat. Because
perfect. Yeah. That's what everybody is talking about. Thank you so much. So I would love to know from both of you. I know, Sajni, you mentioned some things you're working on. What is next for both of you? What can we look forward to reading next?
Well, for myself, as I mentioned earlier, I have the YA anthology about finding love during lockdown that came out today. I have The Knockouts, which is coming out in January. It's that Indian girl. She's a fighter, literally a fighter, Muay Thai fighter. And then Preethi's story is coming out next fall. I'm still currently working in edits with Preethi. In addition to that, I'm working on edits for another book that's going to be released in 2021, but there's nothing official, so I can't really talk about that. And I will say that I'm currently working on something that may or may not involve Matthew McConaughey. My character may or may not be hunting him down across Austin. But if he's here, I just want him to know that.
Matthew, if you're listening, if you happen to be one of our attendees today, pay attention. I love that. That sounds so fun. And you sound very busy too.
Yes, I've been called prolific. I always have like 5 to 6 projects going on. I have releases set for until 2022. Actually, I think I said 21 earlier. 2022. I have releases until then. So I have to get it out. I mean, it's my creative outlet, so I have to get all the stories out.
I love it. Rebekah, how about you?
I wish I would have gone first. So there's nothing that I can talk about, although I will say, you know, I have picture books for children that we're working on. And then, but I will say, without being able to share details, one of the projects I'm most excited about right now is actually a project for teens. And then I'm always kind of working on creative nonfiction, and I've an outlet through my blog, Brave Tutu, but I can't really share anything other than I'm writing and dreaming, and stay tuned.
Oh, awesome. Well, we're excited about that. And there was somebody that just commented and said that Matthew McConaughey is going to be at the Texas Book Festival. I know everybody in here probably is a fan of the Texas Book Festival. So Sajni, keep that in mind. It could happen.
I'm going to make it happen. Let's just say that. I know where he's going to be for the rest of the year.
Yes. And Rebekah, you're doing a book tour as well. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, I have so many fun things coming up. This was the best way to kick it off ever. Next week, I have actually my only in-person event, which is at the UT Austin Club, and it's actually a cocktail pairing and bad date stories. And then the Writing Barn, I have an event with them where we're going to get to meet Katarina, the illustrator, my agent and editor. And then on the Texas Book Festival. And let's see. Also, I'm doing a Write Now session, which is all about empowered writing with Claire Campbell, and then an Instagram live with Katarina, and more to come. But that's on my little book tour page. So I hope everyone can join us for whatever fits their Zoom schedule.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you guys so much taking the time out. Some really fun questions about these two books. I hope everybody has had a chance to read them. If not, definitely pick up Sajni's book. I know we got the chance to read Rebekah's book today. And like I said, I am giving that as gifts for the holidays for my girlfriend. So everybody should do the same. If you have girlfriends who have great dating stories, I think they're absolutely going to love it. So thank you again to our authors for sharing their works with us today. I love our Mayor's Book Club topic this year, which is read local. It is so exciting to see that both of you are right here in our backyard. And, we're so proud of you guys, and great to see both of you getting a lot of attention right now. We want to say thank you to the people who are making the Mayor's Book Club possible this year. That is Humanities Texas, the Andrews Delaney Foundation, the Talker Foundation, and Cirrus Logic. Thank you so much to them for allowing us to put this together and talk with you guys today, and for supporting literacy across Austin as well. And that's what the Library Foundation is all about. Of course, you can visit the Library Foundation's website for a full list of future Mayor's Book Club events. There's still just a few more coming up if you'd like to take part in another one. I believe we might have some links in there as well for all ages, kids, teens. We've got a little bit of something for everybody. Some of the upcoming programs, there's also some writing workshops for youth and adults, more reading, roundtables, also a picture book palooza. Rebekah, that sounds right up your alley. So I hope that everybody will take part in that. Thank you so much to our attendees. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.